The great outdoors, the crackling of a campfire, the scent of pine in the air, and a sky full of stars. Camping is an escape, a way to reconnect with nature. But sometimes what you find in the wilderness isn't peace and quiet. Sometimes you find something else entirely. Tonight, we're re-venturing deep into the woods to uncover 4 terrifying camping stories that will make you think twice before pitching your tent. Our first story comes from a hiker named Mark, who decided to go on a solo trip in the Appalachian Mountains. He'd been hiking for years and knew the trails well, or so he thought. On his second night, he set up camp near a small, serene lake. As dusk settled, a thick fog rolled in, swallowing the landscape. It was eerie, but not unusual. He was just about to crawl into his tent when he heard a sound, a soft, rhythmic tapping. Tap, tap, tap. It seemed to come from the other side of the lake. He peered into the gloom but saw nothing. He dismissed it as a woodpecker or a loose branch. But the tapping continued, getting closer. He grabbed his flashlight, its beam cutting a weak path through the fog. He scanned the shoreline, his heart starting to pound. And then he saw it. A figure, impossibly tall and thin, was standing at the water's edge on the opposite bank. It wasn't moving, just standing there. The tapping stopped. Silence. Mark froze, every instinct screaming at him to run. He slowly backed away into his tent, zipping it up as quietly as he could. He didn't sleep a wink that night, listening to every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig. Just before dawn, the tapping started again, but this time, it was right outside his tent. Tap, 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 on the fabric just inches from his head. He held his breath, paralyzed with fear. The tapping went on for what felt like an eternity, before it finally faded away with the rising sun. When he finally mustered the courage to look outside, there was nothing there. No footprints, no broken branches, just an unnerving stillness. He packed up in a panic and hiked for 10 hours straight, without stopping until he reached his car. He never went solo camping again. Story 2. We journeyed to the vast, desolate Australian outback with a group of friends, Chloe, Ben, and Liam. They were looking for an adventure, far from civilization. They found a remote spot and set up their camp, excited for a night under the brilliant desert sky. The first night was perfect, but on the second day, they found something strange. A few hundred meters from their camp, they stumbled upon an old, abandoned mine shaft. It was just a dark hole in the ground, with a rickety, weathered sign that was too faded to read. Being young and reckless, they joked about it, daring each other to get closer. That night, the atmosphere changed. The usual sounds of the outback were replaced by an unsettling quiet. As they sat around the fire, Chloe thought she heard something. A faint whisper, carried on the wind, seeming to come from the direction of the mine. She told the others, but they laughed it off as her imagination. A few hours later, as they were getting ready for bed, they all heard it. A low, mournful groan. It sounded human, and it was definitely coming from the mine. They huddled together, flashlights pointed into the darkness, but saw nothing. The groaning grew louder, turning into a desperate, guttural cry for help. It was chilling. Ben, the bravest of the group, wanted to investigate, but Chloe and Liam refused, terrified. They argued, their voices hushed and frantic. The cries continued, echoing through the night, filled with so much pain it was almost unbearable. They spent the night in their car, doors locked, listening to the horrifying sounds until they finally stopped at sunrise. They didn't wait to see what the daylight would reveal. They drove away as fast as their car would go, leaving their tent, their gear, everything behind. They never spoke about what they heard, but the memory of those cries from the earth still haunts their nightmares. Our third story takes us to the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, a region known for its Bigfoot sightings. This account comes from a father and son, Dave and 12-year-old Sam, on a bonding trip. They were experienced campers, and this was their favorite spot, a secluded clearing by a river. The first night was peaceful. They roasted marshmallows and told stories. The second night, however, was different. As darkness fell, a sense of being watched crept over Dave. He scanned the tree line but saw only shadows. Later, as they sat by the dwindling fire, a loud thud echoed from deep within the woods like something massive had fallen. Then another. Sam was getting nervous. To calm him down, Dave explained it was probably a dead tree. But the thuds continued, getting closer and closer. They sounded heavy, rhythmic. Thud, pause, thud, pause. It sounded like footsteps, giant footsteps. Then a foul, musky odor filled the air, a smell of wet fur and decay. It was overpowering. Dave grabbed their most powerful flashlight and shone it towards the tree line. The beam caught two large red eyes, glowing in the darkness about 8 feet off the ground. They stared back for a split second before blinking and disappearing back into the trees. Sam let out a yelp. Dave, trying to stay calm for his son, grabbed an axe from their supplies and stood in front of the tent. They could hear something massive moving through the undergrowth, circling their camp. Branches snapped and low grunts rumbled through the forest. It went on for hours. They stayed awake all night, backs pressed against each other, listening to the unseen creature patrol the edge of their clearing. As dawn approached, the sounds retreated and the smell dissipated. As soon as it was light enough to see, they packed their gear and left. On their way out, they found it, a single enormous footprint pressed deep into the mud near the riverbank. It was at least twice the size of Dave's boot. They had been warned. For our final story, we head to a popular national park, a place where thousands of families camp every year without incident. This story from a woman named Jenna is a chilling reminder that danger isn't always supernatural. Jenna was camping with her boyfriend, Tom. It was a busy weekend and the campground was fairly full. They found a nice, slightly isolated spot at the edge of the grounds, bordering the woods. The first night was uneventful. On the second evening, as they were cooking dinner, a man emerged from the trees. He was disheveled, wearing dirty clothes, and seemed a bit off. He said he was a hiker who had gotten lost and asked if they had any spare water. They obliged, feeling a bit uneasy. He drank the water quickly, his eyes darting around their campsite, taking everything in. He thanked them and then just stood there, staring. After a long, awkward silence, Tom politely suggested he should check in with the park rangers at the main entrance. The man just smiled a weird, unsettling smile and melted back into the woods. The encounter left them both on edge. Later that night, Jenna was woken by a noise. It was the sound of their cooler being opened. She nudged Tom awake. They both lay there, listening. They could hear someone rummaging through their supplies just outside their tent. Tom quietly unzipped the tent window just a crack. It was the man from earlier. He was going through their food, but what was truly terrifying was what he was holding in his other hand. A long, rusty hunting knife. He wasn't just stealing food. He was looking around, peering towards their tent. Tom slowly zipped the window shut. They didn't dare make a sound. They could hear him walking around their tent, his footsteps slow and deliberate. He even stopped and ran a finger along the side of the tent. Jenna was crying silently, sure they were about to be attacked. After what felt like a lifetime, the footsteps moved away. They waited and waited, too scared to move, until they heard the distant sound of a park ranger's vehicle on patrol. They scrambled out of the tent, flagged down the ranger, and told them everything. The rangers searched the area but never found the man. Jenna and Tom left that morning and never went camping there again. They learned that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are human. From a ghostly figure by a lake to a desperate cry from the earth, a legendary beast in the woods, and a very real threat in a crowded park. These stories show that the wilderness holds secrets we may not be prepared for. When you're out there, away from the safety of civilization, you're in another world, one with its own rules. So next time you're gathered around a campfire listening to the sounds of the night, remember these stories, and maybe, just maybe, double-check that your tent zipper is secure. Thanks for watching. If you have a scary camping story of your own, share it in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more chilling tales. Stay safe out there.